So Simon, in midweek, it was a slow start last week and it was probably proved to be unstuck against the Suns. How did you go about fixing the slow start this week?
Yeah, look, the first thing is you've got to go and address it, and then obviously you want to see your team go and own it. So, obviously it was a really disappointing start. Obviously coming off a bye, we thought we prepared the group, as well as we could in terms of getting ready for the contest and the intensity of the game, but clearly we didn't bring that to the game, and we went away and had a look at it, and it's certainly something that we need to rectify. As a club and a team, you need to start games in the right fashion, and we've seen throughout the whole year that how you start the game is a big indicator of how the game plays out.
And it's another tough match this week. Adelaide, a slow start probably result in the same results. And how important is it a fast start in front of a hostile crowd? Yeah,
look, it's incredibly important. Obviously, we know the team that we're coming up against. They're in unbelievable form and playing a really high level footy, and Adelaide's always a challenge, but it's one we're looking forward to. Obviously, we've been on the road a little bit in the last month. This is our last travel to really come together as one and put on a really strong performance, and that's what we want to do against Adelaide this weekend.
And it's a main focal point is their forward line. How do you go about limiting the field for the Walker? How do you stop it for the line as well?
Yeah, obviously there's no doubt the midfield's going to play a big part. How we limit supply is going to be really important. Obviously they're very potent ahead of the ball. They've got a lot of talent ahead of the ball, and we feel our backs are, something that we've been working on as to how we defend that ground just that little bit better. It's something that's been a little bit inconsistent in our game of recent times in terms of our team defence. So we want to defend to a high level to really restrict the supply, but also have a greater impact when the ball goes in our D50. So those things we've been working on, and clearly it's going to be a challenge this week against high quality forward line.
And Jake Lever comes back to that defensive unit. How important is his addition this week?
Yeah, look, it's really important. Jake's a really important player to us, and being out of the side last week was really about going away and getting himself in the best form possible and feeling good about his footy. It's been a challenging season, both through pre-season and also in season with some injuries. And he's put together a training block, and now he's gone back to the VFL and performed really strongly. He had a great game against Gold Coast, and it's a chance to get him back in the team. He's a leader, and so we're going to need a big game from this weekend.
And how did he enjoy that experience going back to? He hasn't played much, but how did he do it?
Yeah, obviously, it's a challenge for any senior player when you're not playing the form that you want to be in, and to go back and perform really strongly. You can just see him around the club this week. There's a real energy about him. You can see him feeling confident about his footy, and looking for him to bring that out this weekend. He's someone, as I said, that we value highly, and we need him playing his best footy.
And Jack Viney sort of started forward last week, worked his way into the midfield as a real sort of energiser in there. Will we see him start in the midfield this week, or be sort of start forward again?
Yeah, look, the midfield's an area that we want to continue to grow. We're pretty clear on where we sit as a team and a club, about what we're trying to grow, and our midfield is certainly one of those areas, and we've got some young players that will continue to expose gradually as they develop, and we've got some really core senior guys that evolve into different positions. And last week, Harvey Langford started in there, Jack Viney started out. But by quarter time we needed Jack Viney in and around the ball. So, each week we'll assess it about what we need as a group, and how we go about winning the game, and that's the first and foremost, how we go about winning games of footy.
I just want to ask you about Harvey Langford, pick 6 last year, how you viewed his progression to this point of the season.
Yeah, look, I think when you get young players of Harvey's talent that come into your footy club, you've got to make sure you develop them the right way, and what we've seen with Caleb Windsor, Harvey Langford, Xavier Lindsay, Colton Tholstrup, they're important that you develop him in the right way, whether that be via VFL or via positions in the AFL. And what we've seen so far this year with our core group of young players is that putting them out to the wing has been a great development tool for them, and they've been able to grow their game and settle into AFL footy. As time progresses, clearly they're going to work their way into the midfield, but Harvey's had an outstanding season. He's starting to really grow his game and build on his game, and we'll keep evolving it.
Sort of looking, we're at the back end of the season, there's 8 games over the season. What are you hoping to achieve from those final games?
The biggest thing for us is to make sure we're really clear on where we're going and what we're trying to achieve, and we're not going to waste a day in terms of transitioning this team into a premiership team. Whether you play finals, you don't play finals, isn't the point for us right now. It's about growing our team, transitioning our team into the team that we want to be and what we want to become, because we want to be a team that goes about trying to win premierships, and that's what we're trying to do as a footy club.
And a common theme for you throughout the year has been quite a good group, especially over the weekend. You mentioned it. How important is it to maintain that fight right through the end?
Oh, it's incredibly important. Teams are built on a lot of grit and resilience, and there'll be times in games, in seasons where you're challenged. And right now, in terms of results, we're getting challenged, and we need to show that resilience and grit and spirit and fight, for our footy team, and that's what we're about this week.